Hello and welcome back to the Calm and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Janine Halloran, and today is about the feelings thermometer. So some of you may be aware that I have a blank feelings thermometer available in my store, but you may not know all the reasons behind why I use that and where that came from and how you can use it with your students or your children. So I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about it. So the thermometer is divided into three: small, medium, and big. And I like using the thermometer because for me, I feel like it actually does a really great job of pulling together how a kid thinks and feels about a situation and things that they can do, coping skills that they can use in that situation when they are feeling maybe a little bit anxious, medium anxious, or big anxious. So it really helps pull all of the thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and actions that kids can take together. What I like to do when I work with children using a feelings thermometer is I like them to pick the three colors of the three sections. So, and it also depends on what we're working on. So what feeling that we're focused on. So say we're focused on anger, maybe we'll pick yellow, orange, and red for those three different sections of the thermometer. If we're focusing on the feeling of anxiety, maybe we pick light blue, medium blue, dark blue. Or maybe it's just three colors that a kid really likes. I've also done that with students and with clients. So when you're working with an individual, you can really leave it up to them to really think about and give them some ownership and some power over their thermometer, because it's about their feelings and it's about their emotions and the strategies that they're going to use. So you want them to be sort of invested in it. A great way to make kids invested is to let them pick the colors. So you have them pick the colors and then they fill them in. And then what you do on the feelings thermometer that I have in the store, it has a section called What I Look Like. So that's where you put in how a child reacts at these different levels. So for example, if a child is feeling a little anxious, then maybe they say that their mouth is dry and their arms feel tingly. If a child is feeling a medium level of anxiety, maybe they have butterflies in their stomach and maybe they're pacing. If they're feeling extremely anxious, big anxious, then maybe their mind is blank and crying. So on one side of the thermometer, you fill that part in. So you've talked about like what it looks like when they are feeling just a little bit anxious, medium anxious, and big anxious. And then you go to the other side and then you talk about what are the strategies they can use at those three different sections. What strategies can they use when they are just a little anxious? Maybe it is getting a drink of water and taking deep breaths. What strategies can they use when they are feeling a medium level anxiety? Maybe they can use squeezing something, like a small body movement, like squeezing something, squeezing putty, or thinking of their favorite place. For high anxiety, maybe they do things like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding or using a calming jar. So it really helps kids figure out what's going on with them at all those different stages and the things that they can do at all those different stages. So I've done this with individual clients, but I also used to have some general ones in my office. So I made an anger thermometer, I made a sad thermometer, and I made a happy thermometer. So kids, when they would come into my office as a school counselor, I might not have a long-standing relationship with them. I know whose class they're in or I know their name, but they haven't come in before for any particular reason. Something is happening right now that's making them feel a certain way. So sometimes I would use the feelings thermometers as a way for us to try and gauge what's going on. Like, are they feeling kind of sad right now? A little bit sad, medium sad, big sad? Are they feeling kind of angry right now? And it just gave us a place to start when they were coming in the first time and just upset about something. For older kids, they might not want to use something like a thermometer. It might seem too babyish for them. So what you can do is just convert it simply to a 3-point scale or even a 5-point scale for the older kids, because sometimes you need to separate it out a little bit more as they get older. They have more complex feelings, more complex situations that are going on. They may have more of an awareness of what's going on in their body and what their thoughts are and how they can react. So I've actually created a new printable that is just a 3-point scale. It's very similar to the feelings thermometer, but it takes away the more childlike look of it. It's the same general idea, but instead of using a thermometer, now you're just using numbers, and it seems a little bit more grown up for kids. It's wonderful to be able to use. I still use it in therapy to this day, just helping kids understand where what's going on and what are they feeling, what are they thinking, and things that they can do. Now, this isn't to say that every time you work through a feelings thermometer and kids are going to immediately always go to, oh my goodness, I know I need to go and use my feelings thermometer. Let me see what strategies I should use. That's not really how it is, but it gives you a framework. It gives you a place to start a conversation with a child. Where are you, do you think, on your feelings thermometer? What level of feeling are you at? And what strategies could you use at this point? Talking to kids and helping them understand, when you are feeling at a 1, when you are at the small level of anxiety, the small level of anger, that's the time where it makes most sense to try and intervene if you can. It's easier if you start to use some strategies when you're just a little bit angry as opposed to when you're big angry. It's much easier to calm yourself down. So I also like to use that as a gauge to help kids understand, how do you know where you are, what you are feeling? How do you know when you're feeling just a little bit angry? What are the signs of your body? What are the thoughts you might have? What are the things that you might do? And when you start to do those things, that's when you need to use these strategies. And having it hung up in your bedroom is a good idea. Maybe even having the strategies on a little slip of paper that you keep in your pocket when you know you're going to go into a situation where you might be feeling that way, or having it in a classroom, reviewing it when you start therapy with your therapist. All these things are ways that you can sort of use and integrate the feelings thermometer with a child. So it's a great strategy, a great resource, and I do love how it all pulls everything together. The other thing is that it's a dynamic document. So it's not just, one time we do this and that's how it's going to be all the time. Kids change. What makes them upset changes, what makes them feel certain ways changes, and what works for them changes over time. We've talked about this before, that coping skills will change over time. So recognize that maybe you do the feelings, an anxious thermometer, and then 6 months from now, it looks very different because maybe they're managing their anxiety in a different way. Maybe they have added different strategies, and they've realized that a different strategy works for them when they are feeling just a little bit anxious. Maybe they've really targeted what deep breathing strategy really works for them. So to be able to add those specifics in is something that can be really helpful to help kids understand that their thoughts and their feelings and their behaviors and what works for them does change over time too. So it's a great way to pull everything together, and I highly recommend it. So the free feelings thermometer is available at the Coping Skills for Kids store, and then also the free scale is available at the Coping Skills for Kids store. That's a new product, so you can get the scale that is either 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. So whatever one works for you. And I'd love to see your own feelings thermometers. It's always interesting to see how people use the thermometers and what insights that they have found from them. If you like this podcast, please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues, and you can subscribe to us so you know when new podcasts come out. And as always, please don't forget about yourself. Take a few minutes, have some fun, and relax. Have a great day.